Welcome back, everybody, to Pivot Point of View. I'm Destry Millsap along with Becky Pearson. Last week we had Dr. Kays on here talking about concussion management and all of the things to look for when you have a head injury, vestibular rehab. There's so much stuff out there now that we manage those injuries completely different, and it's just so beneficial to you to recover from your concussion quickly and not have the lasting effects. So go back and check that out if you missed it. We have a very special opportunity coming to us thanks to Renee Bowling. We did get invited to the bonus race finals, and we're super excited about that. So we're going to be talking about kind of what we would do to prepare for bonus race, prepare your horse, prepare yourself, and then also some of the things that we're going to be offering at bonus race, which is just an amazing opportunity. I mean, it was definitely a goal when we started doing this, and it's already came to fruition, and we're so thankful to Renee for giving us this opportunity. So, Becky, what are some of the things that people should focus on as they prepare for bonus race? You know, from a getting your horse ready standpoint, nutrition wise, exercise wise, conditioning. What are some of the things that they should be doing to make sure that their horse is ready for a long week of competition?
I think that's a great, timely subject for us to have. It's going to be hot down there. It's June in Oklahoma. You tell me how warm June in Oklahoma is.
It's about as warm as we can stand it. I guarantee it.
Yeah, so definitely, if they're traveling in from quite a ways away, you want to start electrolytes before you even put your horse on the trailer. Make sure that they're drinking, and I prefer the electrolytes that you put in the tube so that you know they're getting them. Some people will try to put it in the water. Well, if it has a a funny smell, not a smutty smell, but a funny smell. Then you definitely want to, your horse isn't going to drink it if it has a funny smell to it. But if you give it to them in a tube, then you can make sure they get it. Now, sometimes the tubed electrolytes are a little more expensive. You can buy the powdered electrolytes, mix it up in water, and put it in a dosing syringe and get it in your horse, and it's still pretty cheap. So the other thing you can do is add some salt to their grain and do that the whole time you're down there, so they make sure that you make sure that they keep drinking. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I think, health wise, and then making sure that they're just on something to minimize their gut stress. And so we know that a lot of these performance horses have ulcers. Have a good plan in place so that their stomachs don't get upset. Easiest things to do are going to be keeping feed or hay in front of them all the time. And, probably a slow feed hay bag, whatever. If you have one that's a little finicky, we actually have one slow feed hay bag that has a big hole in it. We just make sure she has that, so there's no barrier to her getting her hay while she's on the road. So keeping their stomach good beforehand. Horsemanship wise, things that you're going to do to get yourself ready. I always tell my kids and anybody that I'm working with, make sure that the warm up you do at home is the same warm up that you do when you get to the event. Horses don't like to have surprise parties. So, if you get to an event and your warm up is totally different, then your horse already is like, what's going on? We don't do this at home. So you want to make sure you keep it consistent.
Yeah, going back to the electrolytes and things like that. I mean, a lot of people, I know, my wife and I ourselves, we have horses that we struggle to get them to drink on the road. That's kind of, some of them just don't travel well. And especially, if you have a young one that you're taking, you're not quite sure what they're going to do. They may not drink well on the road. And there's been, I mean, you hear all sorts of stuff down to what color bucket to use. I mean, for certain horses only drink out of a certain color bucket. I mean, these barrel horses are special creatures that do and things like that. So what are some strategies that you would use to get your horse to drink on the road? And also, we talked about the electrolyte stuff. What different brands do you prefer for the electrolytes?
There are a lot of really good electrolytes out there, and I think really do truly feel that the electrolytes being started before you ever get the horse on the trailer is a key to keeping them drinking on the road. Even if like chlorinated water, a lot of times young horses, they do not want to drink chlorinated water if they don't have it at home. And so starting it before you ever put them on, I really like the Redmond. Redmond salt has a good electrolyte. Um, there's some of the OE electrolyte pastes are really good. I've even used just the cheap Apple electrolyte from like Tractor Supply. You just, like I said, it's a powdered one. Mix it up in a cup, get a big like 60 cc dosing syringe, suck that up in there and squirt it in their mouth. It does not have to be terribly expensive, or you can even just get, like, I get a big bag of the Redmond loose salt and I start putting it on their feed before we get them on the trailer, just something to make them thirsty. And so the salt is going to help with the electrolytes. The Redmond loose salt, I believe they have like there's minerals in there too. So that's a good thing. But just looking, whatever's in your budget, there's a lot of different options out there, but I know those are some of the electrolytes that we've used in the past, are the Redmond and the OE, and I really like those. Or just the Apple Light, I think from Farnham is one of the cheaper brands. Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we've used all those too. We've used the OE products. We use the just simple Tractor Supply electrolyte. We've also, I mean, we've done the deal where you you get the powdered stuff, you put water in a syringe, you mix it in there, shoot it straight in their mouth. We've done that. We mix it in their feed. I mean, we've done all sorts of different ways. There's all sorts of different ways to deliver that. And you mentioned the importance of, like, you can't do it just when you get down there or the day before you leave. Like, this is a preparation in the week leading up to, or the weekend leading up to, and the days leading up to, building up their hydration level before they even get there. And that's no different for athletes and yourself. That there's no difference there. You need to start because it's cumulative. So you have to start early and make sure that you're hydrated every few days leading up to that, not just the night before, not just the day of. It's almost too late if you wait till the day before or the day of. You're not going to have the optimal hydration levels in that, or nutrition in general. Because if you cut a deficit here, that deficit's going to follow you for um, the days following that. So definitely a good point there. Um, what else? So what else?
Well, and there's a lot of
Oh,
different.
oh, I remember what I was going to say. So you talked about gut health, and gut health is so important in these horses, and especially the stress of hauling. I mean, there's a lot of different products out there. It's kind of whatever you're fancy on that. And there's Gut X. We use the papaya stuff from Formula One, the stomach soother papaya stuff. Had a really good luck with that. Actually, we've had horses that have been acting colicky. We'll hit them with that, like, 4 cc's of that papaya stuff, shoot it straight in their mouth, and then give them a syringe of Banamine, and then within an hour they're acting normal again, drinking, passing stools, wanting to have an appetite and eat again. I mean, it's incredible what that stuff will do for a stomach. And so then we started giving that stuff to them before we would compete, because it also makes them drink better too. So there's something with the papaya there and how it soothes their stomach that we've had good luck on our horses being able to drink and just have better gut health overall. And we've fed Gut X and some different things there. We've used Succeed for some of our horses that have had ulcer issues. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff out there that that works, and it's a big thing to just try to prevent that colic or gut issue from happening, because I mean, and all sorts, they get stressed out about all sorts of stuff, and especially traveling. or if they get an injury or anything like that, it affects their gut. And so, and in people too, your gut health is super important, inflammation wise, and everything else. So, addressing your gut as well. What are you putting in your diet to help your gut too is something to look at. And so it's really, there's a lot of similarities in how you prepare yourself versus prepare your horse. And a lot of us prepare our horses better than ourselves typically. Shocker, but
Yeah,
we
I agree. I was just gonna say the same thing. Like, I don't know how many times that when I get on the road, like my whole gut health goes to heck. Like because I'm not eating like I normally do. And so, you know, even with our horses too, like we're trying to keep their diet the same, but it is different. And because there's a lot more stress. And so, of course, the gold standard to preventing ulcers on the road is your ulcer guard and those types of things, your omeprazole products. And that is a great thing. It's, I think, the only thing that really has clinical research behind it that will heal an ulcer if your horse has an ulcer, but hopefully we can prevent ulcer from ever getting started. And so we've used different products. We've used the Gut X. We have, right now we're feeding a powder called Gastro Elm Plus, which is actually very reasonable. And we've been having some really good luck with it. Again, it's not a cure for ulcers, but it does help neutralize the stomach acids. And some of our horses that were a little more ulcery, they're doing really well on it. Now, we did have one mare that we almost lost her over Thanksgiving with colitis. And her colitis was due to coronavirus, which I have no idea where she picked it up. They say it can lay dormant in the digestive system for quite a while. But so we've had to be very proactive with probiotics with her as well. And so she gets a probiotic before she leaves. She gets the Gastro Elm Plus. And she gets Succeed. I mean, we are hitting her a lot with some gut things because she just has a little bit more of a compromised gut. So definitely doing some things to keep the gut health good. And there's a lot of great products out there for it.
What about anti-inflammatories and the effect that those can have on the gut? I know sometimes they say with injection, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes with injections, it can be hard on their stomach. Different anti-inflammatories can be hard on their stomach. And if you're having a horse that, can get a little bit sore and everything else, plus you're on the road, I mean, they gotta have that stuff um, to be able to compete sometimes, and if they're especially if they're trying to work through something. So, what are your thoughts on how anti-inflammatories can affect the gut, and how can you mitigate gut issues that way? I mean, some of the kind of the same things that we're talking about, maybe, or
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think a lot of times your vet can answer that probably a little better than I can. Just from personal experience, I do think the Equiox pills are a little easier on their gut than a bute paste or a bute powder can be. So if you do have a horse that can be a little bit more ulcery and you want to do one or the other, I would probably opt for the Equiox. But again, talk to your vet about that. And then, of course, like if you have a horse that's really in distress, more of your IV, like your IV Banamine is going to be a little less stressful on the digestive system because it's going right into the bloodstream. So those are all just really good questions and topics to talk to your vet about to make sure if your horse has a history of ulcers or gut issues that you're talking to them, and so that they know, so that you can be proactive in making sure that they don't have more issues resulting from that pain med that you just gave them, for sure. Good,
I
good.
agree.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we don't recommend Banamine for yourself. I know some of our listeners have taken it. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it's gonna kill you. Come see us. Let us help you. We'll try to help you not have to take Banamine. So,
Right.
um, so what about conditioning wise? What are some of the things the week before that a person should be working on conditioning wise to help their horse leading up to competition and hauling and stuff like that.
Mhm. So I love to have horses on a good stretching program. It a lot of times people get a little bit lackadaisical, and I am not gonna lie, I do too. My horse is huge, and so to stretch him can be a bit of an issue. And but you definitely want to make sure that they have the best range of motion possible going into a big event like this. And so get your horse's leg stretches going, get their core stretches going, doing soft tissue work. You know, you don't have to be an equine massage therapist to massage your horse. I mean, just rub your horse when you're brushing them. Pay attention to how they're flinching, you know, if they're flinching. If you feel a tight muscle on them, you know, you can, even if you're just petting that muscle a little bit more, you know, rubbing it in a circular motion, or just take your rubber curry comb and just gently rub that. Just try to get some blood flowing to those tight muscles, and then do some stretches with them. We will be demonstrating some good leg stretches and spinal stretches for your horse down there at the bonus race. So if you get there on Wednesday, we're going to be showing some of this. We're going to do like a little mini clinic Wednesday, probably around 2 o'clock. We're going to show people basically what Destry and I can do. And so everybody asks us, what are you? What do you do? You know, and so it is very unique what we do. We do physical therapy and training, if you'd say rodeo performance enhancement type training for you and your horse. And so we're looking at your muscles, we're looking at your horse's muscles, we're looking at your range of motion, strength, how do you move, how does your horse move. So pretty much anything musculoskeletal, so anything with your bones or your muscles, that and how you move, we can help with that. I mean, would you say that's a good description, Destry?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, there's so many different things that go into this, and it starts from doing an eval and figuring out where your weaknesses are, where your tight muscles are, and then being able to address that through either soft tissue treatments, cupping, muscle energy, scraping, massage, um, any type of thing like that, and then putting it back to work to where you can keep those things in place longer. And so when you ride, you have a neutral pelvis, so you can help your horse, you build strength, so you can stay with your horse better. And some of the like core stability stuff that we do and hip mobility and stability stuff that we do will help mitigate some of that lower back pain and upper back pain and neck pain and just kind of some of the common things, hip pain, that you would see with riders in general. So that's our whole goal here, is to help you feel better, help you compete at your best, but also give you the strength and mobility to be able to ask your horse to do those things that you need it to do as well, and be able to do it correctly. So that way they're moving in a correct manner and preventing injury in the horse also.
Yeah. And I think you probably get this question a lot too. Like, people say, "Are you a chiropractor? Or do you do chiropractic?" And I'm like, "No, I'm a physical therapist." And I think one of the biggest things, I'm not trying to dog on chiropractors or chiropractic for horses, but I think one of the biggest differences is that whether we're working on you as a person or we're working on your horse, we teach you the things you need to do to keep yourself neutral. Okay, so it's not that you're going to keep coming to us for years, and every time you hurt, you just come lay on the table and we adjust you. Okay, we are going to do soft tissue work to you. We will do things to help get you out of pain, but we're also going to teach you ways to keep yourself neutral, so you don't always have to rely on us. And I think that's probably one of the biggest differences that I see. And I think one of the biggest values that we bring to people is that the education piece that we give them on how to keep themselves healthy. and it's not just keep coming back to me for you to be healthy. Would you agree on that? What are your thoughts on that?
I would agree. And I would think the other part of that is our experience level with the Western industry, riding, and also the body itself and how the body works. And so some people would get caught up in like, okay, it hurts, right here or whatever. But there's a lot of things that may attach there, like especially in the spine. You got to think, we've talked about it in previous podcasts and stuff, so I won't go into that. But how many things attach there, like so many things up and down the spine, and the orientation of it and how one spot of the spine can affect the other spot of the spine. And so I think just the approach in general of, like, if somebody tells me it hurts there, I'll probably work on that area and everything else and check it out and see how it moves and everything else. But that's probably not the only spot that I'm going to fix, because there's going to be other things that attach there and other things that affect that certain joint or muscle that I'm probably going to go look for why that thing is bound up, rather than just like, okay, this is tight. All right, we release that muscle. Then 5 seconds later, it hurts again because we didn't fix the root cause. So I think pursuing the root cause is what has separated my practice the most from other people. Is I don't just treat that area. I will go look somewhere else, and I know kind of how things flow, and there's like the body is kind of becomes like a map at that point, and it'll leave little clues throughout the way on how to treat that person and keep them out of pain, not just give them um, a little bit of relief for a little bit of time. And then the other important part of keeping that neutral and stuff is very important to me, by giving them mobility exercises or activation exercises to be able to hold that stuff in place until the next time I see them, or so they can learn how to correct themselves, and they don't have to take time to keep coming. I mean, I love seeing people, don't get me wrong, but I know people have an only limited amount of funds and time and everything else. And so I want them to know how to care for themselves. So if they're at a rodeo somewhere, and I'm not going to every rodeo and all across the United States, so they're probably going to go somewhere that I'm not, and I want them to have some sort of knowledge on how to get themselves ready without me doing it for them, basically, and some sort of knowledge to get themselves out of pain themselves.
Yep. I agree 100%. Like if somebody comes and they're having shoulder tendonitis, like I'll treat the shoulder tendonitis, but I'll also look at, okay, what's that rib position to change how the shoulder's orientated as to why that tendonitis started, like you said, getting to that root cause of it. And so let's work on the shoulder orientation. Let's work on the rib orientation to minimize the stress on that tendon in your shoulder that got inflamed in the first place. So I think that's a huge part of, our experience with dealing with athletes throughout the years, and weekend warriors and aged athletes and aged barrel racers, that we can bring a lot of experience to the common ailments that we see for this population. So
I agree, and just like working all the different sports that I've worked, from track to football to rodeo to BMX to basketball, baseball, all of those athletes, and treating them. And I mean, you obviously see common injuries in one sport versus another. Like track and cross country, you'll see a lot of overuse injuries, muscle strain, stuff like that. But that stuff can translate to even the football guys and basketball guys that get overuse injuries, and you can kind of go across the spectrum there and know how to treat those people that get overuse injuries as well. No different than the Western industry, and just being able to treat different types of athletes and all the different body types and all that other stuff has been super helpful in my career in being able to help people.
yeah. So we're going to be at bonus race starting Wednesday, correct? Wednesday
Yep.
morning. Okay. And then we'll do that. And so we are available to evaluate people on site. We'll be there all day Wednesday. We'll do the demonstration in the arena Wednesday at 2 o'clock from like 2 to 3. And then we'll be available for screenings afterwards and evals afterwards and treatment. And then we are not able to be there on Thursday and Friday, but we will be back to bonus race, or Destry will be back to bonus race on Saturday. And so if you guys are going to be at bonus race finals, you want to be evaluated, definitely stop by the booth. We are running some specials on some packages. And if you do sign up during bonus race, we will give you some good discounts on that as well. And so we'd love to see you guys in person, get our hands on you, help you with your issues, you know, whether you're having pain, you're having back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, if you are having, just feel like you're not as secure in your saddle when you're running your horse, maybe you're getting a little loose in your turns, or your hips always shift to the side when you turn third barrel, or you know, maybe you're just getting left behind in a turn, you know, different things like this. Or maybe, you know what, you feel like you're doing pretty darn good, but you want to get that little edge in competition. And so you know that if you were stronger and fitter, that could be a really big part of your success. You know, as I get older, I know that I have to work harder at just maintaining where I'm at. And as soon as I slack off in my routine, I get more pain. I don't ride as well. And so if you feel like you're just not riding as good as you could, it could be that your physical health might be the barrier for you. So we would love to take a look at what's going on with you.
Yeah, don't just make the constant excuse of, father time and I'll never, I'm just getting older and I've had this injury and I've just dealt with it for a long time, and so I'll just keep dealing with it. I mean, um that's kind of been our mission, is to help those people realize that there's more to it. There's more for you to do that can get you to a level that you want to be at, and kind of maybe even revisit that fountain of youth that you've been looking for a little bit, by just improving some simple things in your routine and strength and mobility and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know how many people come to me and they're like, yeah, I've just dealt with this for years and years, and then in one session they're like, I didn't know I could feel like that. And so that's one of my favorite parts of this job, is helping those people. So absolutely stop by, come and see us, just talk with us. We'll talk about what we do and just see if you're a good fit and if we can help you. And if not, maybe we can get you to somebody else that is a better fit. So that's another part of it that is important. So
Yeah,
um
sure.
so one question that I have, and that I'm sure a lot of people out there may have, is you're going to this big event and you're going to make multiple runs on multiple days. So, what are kind of some of the things that they should be doing for their horse and themselves to make sure that they're ready to go for the next run the next day? Like, what can they do for their horse to help their horse recover, and make sure that they're not trying to mitigate some soreness and things like that for the next day, for themselves and their horse, so they can be at top form for the next run.
Mhm. Yeah, you know, I would after do all your prep at home, kind of like what we had talked. After your first run, I'd take that horse back, I'd get him unsaddled, I'd go hose him off. Nice, good cold hosing. I mean, how many times have we talked about icing down an injury? Cold hosing that horse off. There are so many good products out there, like your cooling clays, your muds. CEP has a great cooling clay that I love. Sornomore has a good cooling clay. Using that on the horse's legs that evening after you have. Let me go back. After your run, go back and stretch your horse. Okay, get them unsaddled, get the saddle, get everything off. Then go through a stretching routine of the legs, of the back, the core, the spine, the beta carotid stretches. Then take them to the wash rack, hose them down, cool them off, get your cooling clay on there. It's going to be hot enough. I probably wouldn't use like your back on track kind of stuff. I love back on track, but really in the warm atmosphere, I think sometimes it can get a little too hot. So the cooling clays are really good for the summer after the run care. And so those are the things that we do as riders too. So let's say you go out there and you run and your horse has a slip and you get jerked, or maybe your horse bucked with you in the warm-up pen, or bucked with you in your run, or you fell off in your run. Let's hope not. But
Cool.
so what kinds of things are you going to do so that you don't get sore? So I would recommend you do some stretches after you get done running. Your muscles are warm at that point. And so do some stretches, get yourself back to a more neutral state. I love telling people, like, if your horse has jumped and jived with you and you think that you're like, this is going to hurt tomorrow, one of my big go-tos to tell people is like, lay on your bed and do some single knee to chest, or like bringing one knee up to your chest, hold it there for 30 seconds.
So there's also people there that have like Magna Wave, and I'm sure there will be chiropractors on site. I know there's farriers on site if you throw a shoe or anything like that. There's a vet on site. I know that Dr. Dovey will be there with his um, equine sports medicine setup. So there's all sorts of, this is a great event. There's all sorts of amenities for you to be able to take care of you and your horse at this event. So it's an absolutely incredible event, having all those things on site, vet, farrier, um, all those things if you have an issue. So, and then, there is a lady I know that has been set up there in the past that has had Magna Wave and different types of modalities there for your horse to be on. You can make appointments with. I know my wife has used that in the past. She's gotten her horse Magna Waved after her run and stuff. And I think using that stuff, if you know your horse the best and they can do that stuff and it helps them, and the chiropractic thing, like sometimes, a horse may be sore after, or sometimes they may be good. I mean, just knowing your horse and how they react to that will help you make that decision on if that's the right one for you at that time. So
Yeah, and depending on what you have going on with your horse, I love the Magna Wave the night before I compete, and I typically do turn it up a little bit higher and get some pretty good muscle fasciculation. If you feel like your horse has more like joint pain, arthritis, stiffness like that, what we've found when we've done the Magna Wave and the PEMF treatments on people is you really don't walk away from the treatment pain-free, but like the next day, you feel pretty darn good. And so if we translate that to our horses, and the other thing is a person, usually it'll last 2 to 3 days, that pain relief for a person. So if you can get your Magna Wave treatment ahead of time, and because you're trying to reduce pain in your horse, I think that is a good way to do that, is do it the day before your first run. And then you can do it between runs. I wouldn't my preference is to not do PEMF right before I run. So I would definitely do it the night before, the day before, or give myself or my horse at least probably 8 hours before with the PEMF treatments. I feel like they're helpful, the most helpful in that regard. If you do it in more of a light setting, you could probably do it more, a little bit closer to your run time, but that's just my experience with it, is I feel like it's done best like the day before your run, or you can do it between your runs. So if you want to do it after your run, you might do it the evening after your run, so then you're ready for your next run. So
yeah, and I think going back to like what do you do the week leading up, I think it's a good thing to go see your horse chiro, your chiro, or whoever does your body work. I have people who come see me if they know, like for instance, I had somebody come see me just to get tuned up and make sure their body was moving and everything felt good on them. before they went to Fort Smith to the futurities and stuff. So I love it when people do that and they're proactive in their care and they're like, we just got to make sure everything's good and they're not necessarily hurt. They're just need a little tune up and make sure that everything's working correctly. And same thing for your horse, go whatever you got to do to get your horse feeling good, go see whoever it is you see that does soft tissue, chiro, whatever, and make sure your horse is feeling the best it can. There's a lot of money up, and it'll be a fun time. So, bring your A game and do what you can to make sure you and your horse are on your A game.
I'm excited. This is a great event, and it's going to be fun. If you guys are podcast listeners, please let us know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, tune in, let us know, and if there's stuff that you want us to cover on here, let us know. We're open to whatever you guys want to hear about. We can make sure get that on here for you and get that information out to you. We'd love to help you guys out in that way too. So help us help you. Yeah, just reach out to us. We'll be there. I'm super excited for this opportunity. And again, thanks to Renee for putting on such a grand event and letting us be a part of it. I know she's doing her own performance program right now and seems to be doing well with that. So yeah, no, we're super excited. So anyway, well, I'll close it out and thank you everyone for listening and let your health be the pivot point to your success.